Hey everyone. Thank you for being here for today's live stream about Indiana Tier 2 and 3 math instruction. 5 things you should be thinking about regarding House Enrolled Act 1634. So I've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of questions about this particular law that is coming into effect, and what do we need to be thinking about, and what should I be doing? And I wanted to just do this webinar for everyone to have some things to be thinking about as we get more instructions from the Indiana Department of Education and we learn more about specifics. We'll continue to do opportunities like this for learning through Keep Indiana Learning. And so just stay on the lookout for this. But for today, we're going to talk about these 5 things. All right. So I've got my 5 things here, but I also included a 0.5, one half, because I think that it's actually one of the most important things. So our 5.5 things are developing a culture of mathematics in your schools, taking a very close look at your Tier 1 instruction, really defining Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction, understanding what it is, understanding the data that should be collected and how it guides instruction, know your content, and creating coherence with people, resources, and beliefs about the teaching and learning of mathematics. So during this session, I'm just going to kind of go through each one of these things and try to be brief, but please know I'm always open for questions, emails, phone calls, whatever. So the first thing that we're talking about, that 0.5, is creating a culture of mathematics in your schools and classrooms. And so this is the idea that math needs to be something that every child believes they can do, and every teacher believes they can teach. And while that might sound a little fluffy, I really cannot put enough emphasis on how important this piece of the puzzle is. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I'm in a lot of schools, and so often I see like the read posters, and it's every teacher in the school holding their favorite book, or administrators or district, students, like high school students that kids know through sports and things like that, holding their favorite book. But I don't see anything like that for math, nothing like that for numbers. And so creating a culture in our buildings where we are saying math is important here. We like doing math. We like teaching math. We like learning math. We're seeing math everywhere. Math is awesome, is a really important piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of really great specific work we can do around that. And I'll be sharing more about that in upcoming months. But this is a crucial piece of the puzzle as we are thinking about our multi-tiered system of supports. It's not just about the resources that we're using or the schedules that we're making. It's about our beliefs around the teaching and learning of mathematics. So the first thing that we are also going to look at is taking a very, very close look at our Tier 1 instruction. And our Tier 1 instruction should be meeting the needs of 80% of our students. And we have to ask the question, are we doing everything we can to provide high quality Tier 1 instruction? And if you are not finding at least 80% of your students at or above proficiency, there's probably an issue with your Tier 1 instruction. And that's not a criticism. We do what we know. And so we have to work very hard to think about what are we looking at in our Tier 1 instruction and why are we looking at it? So just a couple of things. What is it? Well, it refers to high quality, evidence-based instruction that's delivered to all students in a general education setting, and it aims to meet the majority of students through effective teaching practices. We need, in our Tier 1 instruction, teachers need to know how to teach. What is the pedagogy that they should be using in their classrooms? What are you teaching? What is the content? Know why you are teaching it, why the content, like why are you required to teach it? Know who you are teaching, know how to make accommodations, and know how to set up your classroom for success. And a lot of times we might think to ourselves, yeah, I know how to teach kids how to add. I know how to add. Or yeah, sure, I know how to teach y-intercept. I know how to find the y-intercept. but that doesn't mean that the way we do it is the way that our kids are thinking about the math that they're doing and learning. And so we have to be very thoughtful about our pedagogy, and we really have to know our content. Mathematics is this beautiful, wonderful progression of ideas that starts with 10 digits, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We add different symbols to it. We put the digits in different orders. We add more digits. We add digits together. We place them together. We have multi-digit numbers. So many things change when we continue to put more in with it. So it's very important that we understand that progression of mathematics and we understand how children learn best. So one thing that we really want to make sure that you are looking for in your classrooms are our NCTM, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, 8 effective teaching practices. This is a graphic for them. These things should be happening in our classroom on a very regular basis. I like to ask the question, and I got this from someone, it's not me. I wish I could remember who, but when you walk into a classroom, who's doing the work? That is a huge question that we need to ask when we as leaders walk into mathematics classrooms. If we see kids just sitting and mimicking and copying what the teacher is doing over and over and over again, that is not impactful, evidence-based tier 1 instruction. These 8 effective teaching practices should be happening on a very regular basis, and there is so much learning for teachers to do around them. So our tier 1 pedagogy is based on these effective teaching practices, and it's based on understanding the content and the progression of mathematics and all of the skills that students need to know. There's a lot involved in our tier 1 instruction. The next piece is understanding what exactly is tier 2 and tier 3 instruction. And so we kind of need to ask the question, is it supplemental to our daily tier 1 instruction? Is it aligned to our tier 1 instruction and learning progressions? And is it targeted and differentiated based on student needs? This alignment piece we're going to talk about a few different times. But here's the thing about tier 2 instruction. It's not about reteaching something the exact same way it's already been taught. It's thinking about what are the students doing successfully in our tier 1 instruction, and how can we build off that success to create situations where they can master the skills that they're being expected to learn. So when we look more closely at our tier 2 instruction, we're talking about leveraging student strengths and maintaining expectations. We are targeting specific skills and gaps. I can't stress enough that once a child is moved into a tier 2 component, they are there temporarily because they are targeting a specific skill. Children are not tier 2 children. They go in and out of these groups because they have specific skills that they need to target. As we improve upon our tier 1 instruction, we'll be able to see the fluidity of kids in and out of tier 2 and tier 3 a little bit better. Are we providing enrichment where enrichment is needed? Are we delivering it in small group using highly qualified instructors? Our tier 2 instruction should be happening with teachers, not instructional assistants, unless they are trained instructional assistants on the same pedagogy and content that we want our teachers trained in. And are we providing them explicit teaching to accelerate that learning? But explicit teaching, again, is not saying follow these steps and do these things to get the right answer. The explicit teaching is leveraging the student's strengths. What can they do, and how can I use those skills to progress them further in mathematics? And then we're monitoring and adjusting instruction. That progress monitoring is happening every 2 to 4 weeks in our tier 2 instruction, and we are using flexible regrouping. So tier 2 instruction, biggest thing is this is fluid and this is aligned to the tier 1 instruction. It's not tier 1 all over again in small groups. It's not put on a computer program and have the computer program do it. It's not, here's a worksheet, practice these all again a little bit harder. And it's definitely not send this home and do it more and come back with all the right answers. It is aligned with our tier 1 instruction and needs to continue to build off of the progression of mathematics. Our tier 3 instruction, this is going to be the smallest group, about 5%. So we're going to maybe possibly move 20% of kids into tier 2 instruction to learn a little bit more. They need a little bit more help. The tier 3 instruction, they require this support through one-to-one or very small group instruction. And this, again, is done by a math specialist, a trained teacher. This is not done by a computer program, and it is not done by an instructional assistant. So in our tier 3 instruction, we have targeted focused. We are specializing our delivery. What kind of special interventions do we need to apply so that they continue to make connections to their what they did in tier 2 and what they've done in tier 1? It's frequent, it's scaffolded, and it's very goal-oriented. And again, it's flexible. The purpose of tier 3 is to close the gaps and return students to tier 2 or tier 1. Again, just like tier 2, once they're in here, they receive their tier 1 instruction every single day. That is that every single child is involved in their tier 1 instruction every single day. We adjust for tier 2 and tier 3 based on student need, and we continue to adjust based on progress. And being in this group is never permanent. It's very fluid. So I get asked a lot about, well, what about intervention resources? What should we buy? That's what I get asked. What program should I buy? And here's the thing. There's a handful of programs out there that I would highly recommend. I want, in terms of the state of Indiana, I think we need to see what is the state going to suggest and kind of put out into the world for us to use. But also, those intervention resources need to align with our tier 1 instruction. And if they don't, we need to do the work to make them align. So for example, if I am teaching, say, adding multi-digit numbers using place value knowledge, but I'm doing a tier 2 program that has the kids working on multiplication. And tier 3, like maybe that's in some one-on-one tutoring after school, they're working on addition facts. None of that's aligned because maybe we have all these different programs, we have all these different people involved. So whatever intervention resources we decide to use, we have to work to align them with our regular tier 1 instruction. And again, the ability to align is going to really come with content knowledge and understanding deeply the progression of mathematics. So as we move forward in this process, if folks are looking for recommendations of intervention resources, we'll probably do something at Keep Indiana Learning to have companies share their different resources that they have so people can make decisions. But in the end, that alignment is going to be your number one thing that you need to do in order to make sure that there is consistency and coherence across programs. So I'm not here today to give specific intervention resources suggestions. We are going to offer something up to our members and anybody in Indiana to learn more. But this is definitely a number one question that I get. Resources that you should know are these, What Works Clearinghouse and the Institute of Educational Science, the National Center for Education Evaluation has published these two pretty long documents. Basically what they've done is they've put together groups of math educators, experts in the teaching and learning of mathematics. They had them read thousands, and I mean thousands of articles, research articles, to learn how do students learn best? What interventions should we be doing in our classrooms? And these two are what I pull from: assisting students struggling with mathematics intervention in the elementary grades. And then the other one is improving mathematical problem solving in grades 4 through 8. And just a couple of things that come up with this. In the first one, I'll go back to this. In this first one, assisting students struggling with mathematics interventions in the elementary grades, they came up with 6 recommendations. And here's what they are. There needs to be systemic instruction. We are going through concrete, semi-concrete, abstract representations. This is woven throughout all of the progression of learning that we're doing. We are teaching clear and concise mathematical language. We're supporting students in effectively communicating. We're naming the term while we're using it, and vocabulary is always used in context. Representations. Students should be able to move fluently among representations in mathematics. We have the 5 mathematical representations that we should be using all of the time in mathematics class. That is a part of those 8 effective teaching practices that folks need to know. So representations and moving fluidly between them is crucial in intervention. The use of number lines. This was actually, I've talked to a couple of authors of this. They couldn't believe how often number lines and how effective and impactful the use of number lines in working with students came up in the research. So number lines are a huge tool to facilitate learning. Word problems, providing intentional instruction on word problems to deepen mathematical understanding. And this isn't teaching a mnemonic device like cubes, circle numbers and underline keywords and whatever. This is actually teaching them how to do our process standard of make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. So word problems are huge. And then the last one is timed activities. And I cannot stress enough that this does not mean give time tests. This means provide students specific amounts of time to develop their fluency in mathematics that goes through the 3 phases of fluency development of modeling and counting, deriving, and efficiency. Again, there's so much to learn about all 6 of these recommendations that and again, we'll keep offering more opportunities to learn, but if we're looking for how to intervene, and honestly, even in doing some more impactful tier 1 instruction, these 6 recommendations are huge. We also have 5 recommendations from improving mathematical problem solving in grades 4 through 8, preparing problems and using them in whole class instruction. These need to be cognitively demanding problems that students are doing on a regular basis. And again, all students can do cognitively demanding problems. It's not just, our quote unquote high kids or the smartest ones. Everybody should be given that opportunity. We're assisting students in monitoring and reflecting on their own problem solving process. Where am I? How's it going? What am I doing? What am I missing? Where do I need to make adjustments? Teaching students how to use visual representations. There's those representations again. How do I read a problem and, for example, use a number line to represent the problem, or use a tape diagram to represent the problem, or maybe through another kind of picture or a table. There's so many different ways that kids can be using visual representations. They need to be exposed to multiple problem solving strategies, not just one. And they need to students need to be helped recognizing and articulating mathematical concepts and notation. They need to be given opportunities to talk about these things and understand the numbers and what they're doing with the numbers and the problems that they're trying to solve. So right there is, let's see, 6 and 5, 11 different things that we need to be thinking about in terms of intervention. So again, it's not just about the program. It's not just about the scheduling and who's going to be doing it. It's understanding what needs to be happening during that intervention time. And these recommendations are absolutely going to be crucial in that process. Most importantly, interventions are not a fix without full coordination with tier 1 instruction, and intervention is not a quick tip and trick to get kids to the right answers. That is not what intervention is. We still need them to be able to build off prior knowledge and make connections among mathematical concepts and in the progression of mathematics. Okay, moving on to, I think this is number 3. I can't remember which number I'm on now, but understanding what data should be collected and how it guides instruction. And this data should focus on students' strengths and target their specific needs. So we've got a lot of opportunities to collect data. We can do checklists, observations, use everyday student work, confer with students, our exit slips, our summative assessments, any common formative assessments that we make, the iLearn checkpoints, etc. All of these things are amazing opportunities to think about what can my students do and how do I design instruction to move their thinking forward. This is so much deeper than a spreadsheet of red, green, and yellow, or putting kids in order and developing groups. It's really analyzing the work, triangulating by saying, I'm going to have a checklist, I'm going to have an exit slip, and I'm going to look at my iLearn checkpoint. What do all three of these pieces of data tell me about my students? And how can I design very intentional intervention instruction to move them forward? It's not about reteaching the exact same way or pulling up a computer program that says, hey, have them click here and they'll be fine. This is about understanding our students, what they can do, and building off that knowledge to make them amazing, very capable mathematicians. So again, there's a lot of work that can go into rethinking how we collect data and how we analyze that data and the story that the data is telling us about the students that we are servicing. Okay, next, and I believe this is the last one, creating coherence with people, resources, and beliefs about the teaching and learning of mathematics. So I think I already touched upon this a little bit, but I want us to think about our multi-tiered system of supports as not these things living by themselves, where first we have tier 1, then we have tier 2, then we have tier 3. Rather, this is a support system where everything is working together. All students start in tier 1 instruction. And then 10 to 15, maybe 20% of our students might move into tier 2 instruction. 1 to 5% are going to move into tier 3 instruction. But this is an integrated, multi-tiered system of supports. There is coherence among all of the people, the curriculum resources that we're choosing to use, and the work that they're doing, no matter which group they're in, whether it's whole group tier 1 or small group in tier 2 or tier 3. So kind of looking at this, the New Teacher Project published an incredible article. Keep Indiana Learning has a couple of podcasts and a couple of blogs about this, and 3 things that they came up in the schools that have been the most successful are belonging, consistency, and coherence. So again, you might be thinking to yourself, I don't have time for any of that. I need to see progress. I need to see more kids at or above proficient. But here's the deal. If they do not think they belong in math class, if they do not think they belong in school, if teachers don't think that they belong teaching math class because they don't connect with math, we are going to have a major struggle in our schools. We need consistency across all grade levels, across the entire system. We need groups of people coming together to talk about what's working in my school, what's not working, how can we learn from each other, how can we continue to get better, how are we using our curricular resources, how can we build upon these curricular resources to develop our teachers' pedagogy and content knowledge. There's so many conversations that we can have for consistency that's going to help with the belonging piece. And then there's coherence. I talked a little bit about coherence earlier. We don't want tier 1 instruction to be about adding, using place value knowledge, tier 2 instruction be about working on multiplication facts, and tier 3 instruction adding and subtracting within 10. That lack of coherence is confusing our children, and they are not making the connections between the mathematics. We have to work very hard to teach our teachers how to make those connections and design lessons and curriculum that works for our kids. So one thing to think about in terms of this belonging, consistency, and coherence are all these roles. What's the role of the teacher, the role of the interventionist, the role of the tutor, the role of the curricular resources, the mathematical progressions, the paraprofessional? What's everybody doing in the midst of all of this to to make decisions that best meet the needs of all of our students, but particularly our students that we are finding that need the additional instruction and support in tier 2 and tier 3. So one of the biggest questions that gets asked is, I don't have time for this. I don't have the people power for this. We're going to have to start getting really creative. And we're here to help you think about that creativity, but this is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work, but it's great work. I know that I'm someone that loves to talk and think about the teaching and learning of mathematics, but this is really great work that when it happens, when schools come together to provide the professional development and create a system and structure that works for all children, you will see the progress that you are looking for. So with that, I have put up here bit.ly here at the top. It's case sensitive, so make sure that you're capitalizing the MTSS, DEC, and that's a number 1. If you want to fill out that Google form with additional questions, you absolutely can. You can also use the QR code that will take you to the Google form, and let us know, who are you, where are you coming from, what have you learned by listening to this webinar, and what additional questions do you have. I also have an impact hour that will be available in January that you can sign up for to take, and it digs a little bit deeper into each of these concepts, and there's a note catcher and a case study and different tools for you to use to help you start thinking more about, how am I using all of the people that are involved? How am I using the curricular resources that we have to help this instruction? So you'll be able to take that impact hour in January. So make sure you are checking that out. If you have any questions on references that were used to develop this is the list of references that I pulled from to create this webinar. And if you have any questions, or if you need anything at all, you can always reach out to me, email me, let me know. I would love to work and think alongside you. This is incredible work. I went through my own journey of learning how to teach mathematics well. And as soon as I really started making those connections and really understanding the content and pedagogy I needed to understand, my kids started being very successful in mathematics. It just takes a little bit of time and a lot of vulnerability. So don't hesitate to reach out. We've got a little project in front of us, and I'm looking forward to working with people on it.